Well, I'm sorry that you seem to think that communism is contrary to the personal freedoms of every individual, Warcorpse666. Let's face it. You were upset when YouTube strike down your videos and took away your partnership temporarily and things like that. Don't you think if government had intervened, that wouldn't have happened? That you would not have wrongly been censored and attacked had you had a government body to back you up on that? Had you been able to go to court about that and let the state be a mediator between you and YouTube? I'm just saying, and that's not even communism. That is just socialism. Socialism is simply the realization that capitalism doesn't work, capitalism is flawed, capitalism appeals to the most primitive, most downright degradable, vile aspects of humanity. How can you say that the best of society will emerge from the worst of elements? If we are motivated by greed, selfishness, egomania, and all these other things, how is that going to make us a better world? I don't see your logic there, so that's what I'm trying to say here. I mean, I could go into about how this is your fight too against moderators, but since you made this into a communist versus capitalism discussion, I'm going to bring that up to you why I'm a communist, and yes, hate moderators, because no, there would not be moderators under communism, because that would be contrary to what communism advocates. Communism advocates a classless society. We want to end the class war. If there are moderators at the top commanding people at the bottom, then you have not ended the class war. There is still social hierarchy. There is still a commanding body. There is still a government. Communism doesn't want government. Communism merely uses government to achieve the ends of a classless society. Many communists believe that it is a transitional process. You're not going to get from point A to point D immediately. You need to go through B, C, and in order to get to D. So because of that, many communists do aspire for state control, but only because they believe eventually the state will fade away. That under a strict guideline of a one-party state, eventually it will become indistinguishable from the people. They will meld into one. They will be inseparable. The people will be no different than the state. There will be no differentiation, no ranks, no files, only people. And you might disagree with that, but then that doesn't necessarily mean you're a capitalist. That just means you're a cynic that believes that the state can never be good, that the state can never evolve into an integration with people, and you could be an anarchist. And if you want to be an anarchist, that's fine. I don't agree with it, but at least we're on the same page. But to suggest that people can ever be free so long as there is someone to be above them, so long as there are people that think they're better than somebody else. No, that's impossible. You're upset with Fematheist because you think she thinks that women are better than men. And she doesn't. That's not what she's after. What she's after is the eradication of the patriarchal system. She's not happy with the way society is now. And she thinks if people just did not have testicles, society would be better in the future. So, for her, feminism is a means to an end. Feminism is a means of making people socially and physically equal by changing the very demographic of society. It's a form of chemistry. That's all it is. Radical politics such as that is just a form of science. It's the idea that humankind can be transformed. Humankind is a primordial ooze that undergoes many different evolutions. And, in theory, you could have a say in that. You could influence the direction humanity takes. Certainly many powerful people have in the past, doing it right now. Right now, the reason you believe what you believe is because powerful people implanted their imperialist propaganda into your mind. That's why you think communism is so unbearable, and that, communist countries were so bad. But they weren't. It would be impossible to be as bad as they made out to be. If Russia had killed as many millions, of not billions of people as they make them out to be, they would have not been able to exist. They would be Somalia by now, if it was that bad. If there would be anyone ever. But, no, you cannot physically kill that many people and sustain your society. That's impossible. And Cuba. Everyone talks about how bad Cuba is, but many Cubans I talk to say that Cuba's not really all that bad. It's got its problems, sure, but that's because there's still a class struggle to undergo. There are still people above other people. So yes, it's going to have problems, but in comparison to many Western countries, not by a whole lot. They have health care, they have housing, they have all their provisions met, and yes, it's authoritarian. But so are Western countries. You go to England right now and there's a fucking camera up your asshole. Even in America, there are many things you can't do. You could probably go to jail for 10 years for jaywalking. And they'll paint this big picture that jaywalking is to preserve the American culture. And we gotta punish people with 10 years in prison for jaywalking to fight the terrorists or some bullshit like that. And you would eat that up. And you're gonna tell me that that's better than Cuba? No. No, and by comparison, Cuba could never achieve that level of bullshit and that level of tyranny. And so yes, Cuba has its problems. But that's not due to communism. That's just due to the nature of mankind as it exists today. And communism is the scientific theory that will try to get humanity out of that rut. So if you want to argue the semantics of whether or not communist theory won't do that, that's one thing. But then there are a multitude of different communist theories. A Marxist-Leninist is not a Maoist. A Maoist is not a Stalinist. And I vehemently disagree with Stalinists. But my point is that not everyone is just some stereotypical Red Dawn villain. The communist theory has a multitude of different denominations and chapters, all with their own ideas and speculation about how to move humanity forward. But that's the main principle, is that humanity needs to move forward. We need progress. And you seem to think that capitalism will make that progress by the profit incentive. That if people think they can have power, that they will inevitably make new things and make things better for everybody else. No, that's not how power works. Once they have power, everybody else goes without. Because they figure, fuck them, or they're getting in the way, they're useless eaters. That's what happens when people get power, and thus, if money equals power, then by extension, capitalism is this religion of evil. It is this religion that says people should do evil things for evil means and in evil ways. Capitalism just rewards liars, murderers, charlatans, and rapists. That's who capitalism awards, because the best way to get ahead in a capitalist society is to either kiss a lot of ass, stab everybody in the back, or get a less than hospitable job. You know who makes the most money besides porn stars? Mercenaries. Mercenaries make a shit ton of money. And a lot of them work under the guise of security firms. Your local security guard company, your local mall cop, might actually be the face of an underhanded Blackwater group. That's how sick our capitalist society is, where mall cops are, getting paid minimum wage, but then that's just the surface. Underneath that is a secret company that does rogue general warfare and breaks Geneva Convention and things in foreign countries. And like I said, mercenaries make a shit ton of money. I have a lot of security guards in my family, and I have been tempted with offers to work for security firms. And, I just could not morally get behind it. I could not morally get behind killing innocent people for profit. And the government will do nothing about it. Because they need those mercenary firms. They need those mercenary firms to romanticize the military. The mercenaries do what the military doesn't want to get caught doing. The mercenaries have the blood on their hands and do the bad guy shit that villainizes them, and that's why when a mercenary soldier gets kidnapped or something, you're pretty much screwed. You're not going to see them again, because the government's not going to want to associate with those people. But at the same time, they pay those people to do the shit that other normal people wouldn't. And in your mind, under your philosophy, that's the way it should be. Where if someone's willing to do the most underhanded, sleaziest shit, that they should get more money. That the cost is worth the gain. That somehow evil is okay as long as the price is right. How can you claim the moral high ground if that's your philosophy? Under communism, we just don't reward evil, and we shape mankind to not be evil in the first place. Yes, right now many people are motivated by the profit motivation, but that's because that's how they were raised. So we need to raise them differently. Like I said, it's a transitional process. You have to change the education system, you have to change the media, you have to change the propaganda, you have to change the laws, you have to change every facet of life, and you have to expose them to different things. Everything you are exposed to right now is of a capitalist nature. So in order for you to think better, to think morally, you would have to be exposed to an entirely different world. From every billboard on, when you drive by, to every movie you see, to the music you listen to the textbooks you learn in school, everything you are exposed to would have to lean in a different political and just overall social direction. That's what communism understands that many institutions do not. Is that it's not simply passing a few laws in here and there that reform bad practice. You can't simply regulate business out of existence. You can't simply ban bad things and it'll go away. You have to change the very foundations of humanity's thinking. You have to change the way the mind operates. And that's a very difficult thing to do, but it is possible. Or at least that's what communists think. Communists think it's possible. And maybe it's not possible. But if it is, then we are obligated to try. So maybe that'll give you some idea of where I'm coming from, and how, if it were up to me, you would never be censored. You would not have your partnership revoked. You would not have had any of your videos flagged down. I would never do that to you. I would never do that to anybody. And, if it were up to me, you could pursue this media outlet where you make your videos and entertain people, because that seems to be what makes you happy. So if that's what you want to do in life, you should be able to do that, and you should have every means available to help you do that without having to settle. Like you said, many people don't want to go through the work of being a doctor or a lawyer, so they settle. I don't think it's because they don't want to work. I think it's because they see that their work is not planning out. All the work they put in just isn't enough. Because in capitalist society, it's never enough. Human beings are an expendable resource. So, they have to go to college, which is expensive, put themselves into debt. Like, imagine, I thought about being an attorney. I would have to pay out the ass to go to college, go to law school for about 8 years, learn the ins and outs of the law, then come out, I'm in college debt, and on top of that, I have to figure out a way to pay for my advertisement so that people know I'm a lawyer and I'm available. So not only do I have my college debt to worry about, I have this newfangled debt of trying to get my name out there to worry about. And then, God forbid, I should get some kind of bad media press because I helped a serial killer get off the hook or something. And that ruined my already very weak, very timid lawyer career. So, how does that help society? I believe that if we lived in a communist society, a lawyer would be able to actually pursue morality and defend people vigorously, or accuse people vigorously. And if I were an attorney in a communist society, I could help get a lot of people out of prison that don't deserve to be there in the first place. That their crimes are menial in comparison to the society that created those criminals. I believe that every single murderer, rapist, thug, etc. is simply a symptom to the disease that is our capitalist society. They are just byproducts of it. They are victims themselves, infected with the insanity of political capitalism. And the first way to start against this fight is by getting rid of moderators. If we stopped having the class war online so that we could all freely talk, we could all freely socialize, we could organize, we could, just combine our forces, we could unionize, we could do all these things, the world would be a better place right then and there. And all we would have to do is just get rid of these bastards that think they're in a position to silence anybody, to push anybody around, that they know better than the rest of us, and that what they want, they're going to get, regardless of who it hurts. That's what pisses me off about moderators. That's why they are my fight. Those kind of bourgeoisie are holding us back. Right now, we would be so much better off if we didn't have moderators. When the internet was invented, the first thing that should have been thought about was how we can regulate it in a way where people would be held accountable for their property. Because if Facebook was held accountable for every single person that goes to prowl a little girl by, getting on Facebook and trying to lure a 12-year-old into having sex with them or something, Facebook should be the one that gets punished for that, not the pedophile. Because you know what? Facebook is the one that lets everybody else have a fucking Facebook and talk out their fucking ass. So, since they're the ones with the delete button, with the ban button, and are judge, jury, and executioner in every other instance, why aren't they the ones held accountable? You believe in property right. You know that if you own an apartment building and people are smoking crack in your fucking apartment and having cockfights, you, as the property owner, are held accountable because it was your responsibility not to put someone in your apartment that was smoking crack and having cockfights. Yes, what they're doing is wrong, but you're the one that gets to have that power to evict them or to raise their rates or whatever. And you let that go on. That happened under your watch. So you should be the one that's punished, not them. And like I said, that's still not communism. That's simply awareness. That's simply light, very light socialism, where we realize that if people are going to have power, they should have some kind of responsibility. They have a responsibility just as a parent does. If a parent is going to be able to smack the backside of their kids and raise them a certain way, then they have to be held accountable when they abuse that child. That is simply the way things ought to be. And in some instances they are, but it's very rare. And it's getting even rarer because people like you want to believe that capitalism can do no wrong. And so, not only do these people own the land, the air, the water, the guns, the gold, everything, they also have no accountability whatsoever. And you're worried about communism? I got news for you, buddy. Nothing communism could do could even amount to a minuscule of that. The whole magical Cold War that scared everybody, that thought we were going to have nuclear fallout, that's playground shit in comparison to what capitalism is doing to our globe. It is destroying the earth itself. It's not only destroying the people where they're fatter and stupider and getting cancer and can't fucking breathe. The air is unfit to breathe. The water is unfit to drink, and people are just going insane on bath salts. No, that's just the surface. Underneath that, fucking bees are dying and they can't pollinate the flowers. Global warming is boiling the oceans. And it's madness. Capitalism is pure madness, and it's killing us. And you don't want to see it. You're still in the denial stage. And by the time you realize it, it'll be too late. And you know what? I don't want that on my shoulders. I don't want to be the last man on earth to say, I told you so, I told you so, in an echo, and all around me just fucking dead bodies and fire. That's not how I want this story to end. I would rather see us do something better with our lives. I would rather have something to look forward to. But as long as things are the way they are, I won't have anything to look forward to. And that's why I have my meme, it gets worse. So, I'll see you later.